would like to introduce the president of the College of Lake County, Dr. Lori Suddick.
My family laughs at me when they hear I get applause for doing nothing but standing up. Good evening, everyone. Just a few good news things that I'd like to share, but before I do that and go into my student success update for you, I do want to take a moment to say how much I appreciate the level of Board of Trustee engagement, not only at ICCTA, ACCT, at the gala, but the visibility in the community. It is impossible for me to go throughout Lake County and not run into people who know every one of our trustees. So you touch my work every day, and I do appreciate that. For the life of a college and the ability to advance forward, it's critically important. Every best practice shows you want engaged trustees, and so I appreciate that and just wanted to acknowledge you for that. Some other good news that the CLC team deserves recognition for. Last month I had updated you on our PR and marketing team. They had been a finalist for the 2018 Medallion Awards from the National Council for Marketing and Public Relations in District 3. And the good news is they received the Gold Award for CLC's Strategic PR Plan for the Supply Chain Management in the category of Successful Recruitment or Marketing Program. So congratulations to Ann O'Connell and her team who worked very hard on that successful campaign. Other good news, new statewide and national recognition for CLC sustainability efforts. CLC is now listed on 2 prestigious lists of colleges and universities. Princeton Review Guide to the Green Schools and Sierra Magazine's 2018 list of cool schools. That's a list I like being on. And then Ken Gosh, Mike Welch, and David Huesmiller did represent CLC to receive an Illinois Sustainability Award given by the University of Illinois to a select group of high-performing colleges, businesses, nonprofits, and municipalities for their sustainability achievements. And I believe the award is sitting on the table in the corner over there. So good job, CLC sustainability team, Ken and David. I know there's a lot of effort going on. And my script isn't lying, CLC achieved LEED Platinum rating for the new Science and Engineering building. That's a huge accomplishment. And then we've had some great work going on with a successful month of activities for Manufacturing Month. And we've had the Baxter Innovation Lab Open House, Manufacturing Job Fair, Engineering Night and Career Expo. We'll be hosting here tomorrow, CLC in the Jobs Center, manufacturing-focused employer panel here at the Lakeshore campus, where employers will talk about the growing field of manufacturing in Lake County. So we also have our CLC Open House, Big Dreams, start here at CLC, which will be held on all 3 campuses Thursday, November 8th from 5 to 7 p.m. And I'm going to conclude there and transition into my student success update. And I'm going to try and figure out if I can get this mic to sit here instead. See if you can all still hear me. Does that work? So while we have much to celebrate, as you know, we've been working together to build a plan about moving forward in student success. As we celebrate many things, we have a great deal of work yet to do to truly serve this great community of Lake County. So I wanted to provide to you or continue the conversation that we began September in the spirit of transparency and ongoing communication about our efforts in student success and what the planned next steps are. You do have 2 documents at your place that you can reference, and I'll speak to them specifically in a moment. One of those documents is the Achieving the Dream Network cohort application that you'll see. And then there is also a document called the Institutional capacity assessment tool. So I'll go over those in just a moment. So as we look to continue building out our focus on fulfilling the mission and vision of this organization by living the values that have already been established and achieving the aspirations which you as trustees affirmed at our September meeting, for those things that we reach for and guide us as we begin to build our next strategic plan. And as I had shared with you, my 120-day assessment, we focused primarily on the student success framework at our September meeting. So I just wanted to do kind of the next conversation. And in the assessment, we talked about what will it take to ensure that CLC is relevant to today's community, that we address the shifts or make the shifts that we need to in order to meet community needs. And then the board provided some input to all of those elements. And I just wanted to reference us back to those shifts that we were talking about and questioning whether we're currently set up to be relevant in today's economic and demographic realities, and ensuring that are we designed to meet all of the items listed: the high school market, the returning adult population, the adult education, connecting to a national student success network, the incumbent workforce, as well as being prepared across multiple delivery methods in order to meet every one of those segments in our market. And the board affirmed our first draft on a student success definition that we'll be taking into the broader organization for further discussion. And it's a launch point for us. It's not a final destination, but it provides us an anchor and a framework as we begin the student success work that we need to embark on to improve our outcomes for students. And as you know, we're framing this in reframing, reimagining, and re-engineering CLC to be more equitable, focused on the student experience, and building out a systemic student success framework so we can build the institutional capacity for student success. And the board also affirmed at the last meeting that we would connect to the Achieving the Dream model, or for me to explore further, and that's what I want to talk to you about a little bit today. So before I go into that document, though, I did want to put this graphic, which is kind of a graphic in motion, but this is a graphic that I am using as I'm going out into the college community to talk about our student success efforts. And many times as we're trying to build something and put it together, it can feel like there's a lot of moving pieces and parts, which can be very confusing for staff and faculty because it can feel like we're trying to do 50 things, when in reality, we're focused on one single thing, and that single thing is student success. But it takes a complex framework to get there. And so always guided in our work or providing guidance in our work is our mission, vision, and values. We will be working to create our CLC student success team. We do not have such a team within the organization right now. And every college that is framed in student success work and making significant progress on student outcomes has a team that is solely focused on the decision-making about student success work within the organization. So we have yet to embark on that effort. The student success team would be using the student success definition that we talked about, where we're providing personalized, culturally relevant education that's equitable and inclusive within a student-ready framework. And we will also use the Achieving the Dream framework that helps us assess our institutional capacity for that work. The connection, entry, progress, completion, and transition is the systemic framework that we can organize our work within so that we're ensuring a seamless system that students will experience as they come to, through, and out of the organization. And Achieving the Dream will serve as a national framework that provides us a lot of peer learning knowledge of best practices within that work that we can engage all of our staff and faculty in. We are currently engaged in a partnership for college completion, which is a regional focus. And then we've already been a member of Excellencia in education, and as a Hispanic serving institution, it's critically important we're leveling against high-performing peers that are also HSI. So this is how the pieces and parts are slowly coming together, and that student success team in partnership with the Board of Trustees will begin in our strategic plan to build out priorities that will lead into initiatives and interventions that will drive our work, and the sub-teams that are spread throughout the college will be able to make progress for students. So that's kind of a general framework of work that we'll be embarking on. But I wanted to make sure that I spoke specifically about my conversation with the Achieving the Dream Network. I did participate in a call with 2 representatives from that network. The value of joining Achieving the Dream, which is a national network of about 220 colleges who have joined the movement of student success throughout this nation. The value is to be a part of that premier peer learning network, to build your institutional capacity to support student success and address the equity gaps. It helps us to get every person and program on the same page, aiming in the same direction in the organization, and it helps us to accelerate our progress on completion and accountability goals. Entering into Achieving the Dream initially is a 3-year commitment. I think it's important the Board of Trustees understands that. There is an application process that we would need to go through, and that is one of the documents that I have provided to you. I thought it would be important for you as trustees to actually see the overview of the application, because you will note on page 7 and 8 of that document that one of the aspects of applying is that we actually receive a statement from the Board of Trustees, specifically the chair of the trustees, that affirms commitment by the college to support joining and working within the Student Success Network. So there's a 3-year capacity building effort. Many colleges stay in Achieving the Dream well beyond their 3 years, but that 3 years is really the acceleration process and organization of the work. There is an investment required to participate in Achieving the Dream, but there's also a return on your investment through student success outcomes and services back to the college. So the initial 3-year commitment is $75,000 per year. If your application is in by December 31st, there is a discount of $3,000 per year by an early bird application. So December 31st would accomplish that. We currently have the Growth and Innovation Fund that we could utilize in order to support that application. There will be travel costs associated with the team's engagement in the events that are a part of the Achieving the Dream Network. As a part of the service package that comes to the college that are the benefits of being in the network, we are assigned 2 coaches. There is a leadership coach who works directly with the president of the college and the Board of Trustees, as well as the student success team and other groups organized around student success in the college. And then there is also a data coach, which are outlined on the last page of the application. There is access to a multitude of in-person and online events. There are on-site visits by the coaches, so this isn't just someone looking at paperwork and telling us from afar what they're doing. These are coaches who have been engaged in student success work in hundreds of colleges across this nation. And they come on-site and they work directly with us within our data, and they're there as a support system for our work. And then there is also 48 hours of off-site coaching provided in that work as well. As a part of Achieving the Dream, there is an ICAT assessment, which is the other document that I provided to you. Interestingly, with our work in Partnership for College Completion in the Illinois Equity and Attainment Initiative, they had asked CLC to pilot the ICAT tool because PCC has partnered with Achieving the Dream. So CLC just recently distributed this assessment to close to 80 individuals within our organization across staff and faculty in all 3 campuses so that we could pilot this for the PCC effort. If we go into Achieving the Dream, this tool will be completed by the entire college community. Upon completion of the tool, they facilitate what's called a Capacity Cafe, where we engage a multitude of stakeholders across the college in evaluation of the data and making decisions around our first steps forward and priorities in student success. So the tool that you're looking at is actual data from CLC faculty and staff who just recently completed this assessment. As I said, we sent it to about 80 individuals, and those individuals this week will participate in the Capacity Cafe, and we'll be sharing our experience out to the other 24 colleges engaged in the Partnership for College Completion as a model college for them. So I'm going to pause there. And, I'll pause after this. How's that sound? So our year 1 engagement, as we talked about at the last board meeting, was really the need to develop the org structure to support student success framework at CLC. We had already been engaged in PCC, and we're in the works on the ICAP pilot. We've attended the Excellency in Education Conference. We have Dr. J. Luke Wood coming to provide an extensive professional development experience for the entire college in January. Our Diversity Council is engaged in developing an equity statement and defining inclusivity, diversity, and equity for CLC. The DREAM Conference will be held in February of 2019 with the ATD kickoff experience in June, which is a required component of joining Achieving the Dream. They also offer, which is optional, an annual data summit and a holistic student support institute, which supports our student development area in ensuring that we have a seamless and integrated system for students. I believe that is all of my slides. I'll pause there to see if the board has any comments, input, thoughts, reactions to the steps that have been taken and the next steps for the application to
Dr. J. Luke Wood.
Dr. J. Luke Wood, I believe, is out of USC. He's an expert in equity. We had a team of people who went down to a conference held at Joliet College this summer called Decolonizing Practices in Higher Education. There was a team of about, I think, 10 to 15 of us who went. He was a presenter there, but actually CLC had connected with him long before that through our teaching and learning area to Let's See, and so he was identified last year. So he is a national speaker focused on equity in higher education.
Thank you.
Dr. Suddick, have you talked to other community colleges that are in the process or have done this process and their overall feelings or impressions of it?
Of Achieving the Dream? Yeah, so I've personally been involved in Achieving the Dream at a prior college for 10 years. So I have personal experience participating in Achieving the Dream. And I would say that I have at least 30 personal colleagues who are in colleges who are part of the Achieving the Dream network. Much of that is the value of being in the network, is you can talk to your peers on the ground who are wrestling with the exact same issues that you are, and you can be inspired and educated by their methods and efforts, but also you can share. Part of it is understanding your role in contributing to the greater good of higher education, and when you find a good thing that works well, you share it so that everyone can achieve the same success. But colleges that are engaged in this in a real way, because you can certainly join it and continue to be status quo and accomplish nothing. So there is that risk. If you're going to go in, our recommendation is you're all in and you commit to the transformational efforts it takes to actually achieve better outcomes for students. But those that are committing to that are accomplishing significantly higher graduation rates for students while maintaining academic quality and excellence. And they're also improving the equity and access for students and also closing the achievement gap. So that's what it's about.
Dr. Suddick, could you briefly just briefly elaborate on equity? I mean, sometimes the jargon changes over time, and I'm not sure everybody might benefit.
Yeah. I think when we're thinking about equity in higher education, historically, when education was first set up, it was about making sure everyone had equality, equal access, that everyone had the same resources, the same needs. And equity is not equality. Equity is taking a person where they are and meeting them where they are and providing them the resources and the supports that they individually need in order to be successful. So that may mean one student needs a separate set of services or ways in which to accomplish their outcomes while students are going for the same outcome. How to get them there looks different by the individual. And so it's about evaluating your internal processes and being able to individualize those around the student. Simple example, if you take it to the learning level, I'm a visual and tactile kinesthetic learner. If you lecture to me all day, I am not an auditory learner. I will walk out of the room and remember 1% of what you told me. But if you consider my own individual learning needs and you provide to me visuals and hands-on opportunities for learning, I will excel at that opportunity. So it's about really knowing your students and providing them what they need. But it's also about breaking down institutional barriers that exist, because many times it's not the students that are the problem, it's the systems and structures we set up thinking that they're the best things. And part of it is evaluating those institutional structures and understanding why is it, questioning, why is it that we really have them? Or are they only in fact serving to continue to segregate the populations that come into our organizations? And I believe as an open access organization, it's critically important we truly are open access.
I just want to thank you for your relentless pursuit of student success and making sure we do approach and improve our issues around diversity and equity at CLC. You've had that sharp focus since you were new. And bringing it every day as you're here. As you rolled out your plan, your 120-day assessment last month, it was quite apparent that you really listened well to the community and to every member of our CLC community representatives. You pulled together a plan that I think is quite robust, but I personally really appreciate the relentless attention to student achievement. And I think the Achievement Dream Framework is just a natural extension of what it is we're hoping to achieve in terms of raising the bar for all of our students here at CLC. So high level this month, right over here today, we've identified funding for it, so I appreciate it seeing alternative funds as well, so I encourage you to pursue any grant opportunities or perhaps some outside funding. That would be awesome. Also, we get more people to embrace the capital.
Your comment about external funding is important and I think a great opportunity because we have been engaged with several foundations who are extremely interested in this work, especially engaged with North Chicago, Waukegan, and so I believe as we help create this vision, there are those who are sitting there waiting for us to have it and who are going to just grab hands with us and go. So I will definitely pursue that.
Well, I certainly see the advantage for the county doing this. And I don't know that I've been around for forever. I'm just curious, with the new presidents coming in and being for a short time, is the timing right? Is there a side to us doing it this year as opposed to, say, the applications due in a whatever conference?
Yeah, so thank you. That's a great question. I do think the time is right. I feel as though through the interactions that I've had within the college, the thing I've appreciated most about CLC is there is such a deep level of knowledge, competence, and commitment that exists throughout faculty and staff in the organization. So if I didn't have that sense from the team, I wouldn't be recommending this. But there is definitely, I think, a hunger for something to organize around and to collaborate around and to engage in and do the work. Not moving forward the risk I think is, it will just cause us to sit and wait. And there's people waiting to go. and I do feel a great sense of readiness. However, I am fully aware that I cannot leap ahead. So while I've been engaged in some of this work at the national level, and I'm doing pathways coaching with other colleges, and I see the challenges they have by stepping too far ahead too fast. Right now, we're just building momentum. So this message that I'm sharing with you is also the message that I'm sharing in my chats with Lori as I go around to each of the campuses and hold open sessions. Right now, it's about building momentum to get there. There isn't any structure in place until we can get our teams together and go experience these events, because I can't sit in my office and create this structure. This is about getting everyone in the room together and thank you. It's about getting everyone in the room together and really deliberating this. And it's not about pointing at who's done something wrong. This is about focusing on students and figuring out what we can all do right together. So I feel ready, and my team can tell me otherwise.
Dr. Suddick, I know I gave you a lot of information when we were in New York,
Yeah.
staff stuff, but I don't know, and I brought it tonight, if I gave you this equity action agenda for community college governance, because our national diversity, equity, and inclusion committee put this together through the course of the last year. And it's got all kinds of things that should be done and definitions and that we're hoping to use nationally with community colleges. So if I didn't give it to you, I'll give you.
Thank you. And I think our diversity council would really appreciate that as well.
I'm watching Allie waving over there.
Yeah. Oh, you did, yeah. Yeah, I brought a library home for them too. Other comments, questions? I truly appreciate the board's support in moving this forward, and as importantly, I appreciate the support of the team at the college, because the conversations have been robust and motivating and inspiring, which is awesome. You're still stuck with me. So if I may, I'd like to transition in my report. Derek is going to give you an awesome presentation on the Lakeshore campus specifically, but I did not want him to venture into that without me having the opportunity to share some thoughts and perspectives that we didn't get to at the last meeting. So I'm going to provide some perspectives organizationally, and Derek's going to go into details specific to the Lakeshore campus in his presentation. And I'm going to go as quickly as I possibly can so that he has the opportunity to give the detail to you. So the focus in this regard is going to be on enrollment growth, because while we want to focus on student success and better outcomes for students, there are some business realities we have to deal with. And I know we're all aware of what those business realities are. We've had declining enrollments for a number of years. But I am an optimist, and I do believe there are in some places, some very simple things, and in some places, some difficult things that we can do or need to do in order to kind of change the trajectory of that graph as it currently looks today. So I just want to share some of those with you. And I also want to put in front of you what I believe are some goals that we need to think about. There is no way to enrollment growth without using the student success work within. And actually, I think the places and pockets in CLC that we have achieved growth has a lot to do with some of the great student success work that this team has been doing before I even ventured into this college. There has been improving retention, and there are some improved outcomes. And that's because of some of the great assessment practices that exist and some of the structures in place through the Enrollment Management Commission. So I credit them for some great work. But we really need to set some specific goals. And the goals that I'm putting on the screen in front of you, I believe, are just some key goals that will help us do both focus on student success while also positioning us for enrollment growth. So I would propose that we set our sights on minimally growing enrollment at least 0.5% in fiscal year 19 by some efforts that we're currently putting underway. And the board has supported some investments in order for us to be able to do that. And that we grow enrollment on top of that 0.5% by another 1% in fiscal year 20, and then again a 1% increase in fiscal year 21. So there are some specific things that we're going to have to do in order to make that happen. That isn't just wishful, there's effort that goes with that. I would like to state that I believe we should double our associate degrees granted by 2023. That means we would go from 1,438 degrees granted to 2,876. That's bold, I know it, but I believe this college can do it. I believe we should increase our certificate completers by 10%. That's taking us from 1,721 to 1,893 over FY18 numbers. If we increase our average credits earned to 12, right now we're sitting at 8.5 credits. So our students that come in the fall and then are retained in the spring semester, their average credit load is 8.5. I want you to understand that if we could shift the number of credits our START students are earning, that's a $2.5 million increase to the bottom line of this organization. Additionally, going back up to the enrollment, for every 1% increase in enrollment growth, it's $310,000 to the bottom line. And so my point here is why you have to have both student success effort and enrollment growth efforts going on at the same time. Because you can have great gains by building the right student momentum metrics and designing yourself so students can actually take more credits because that's where the bottom line opportunities exist. I would also propose that we seek to be top 3 in graduation rates among our Illinois community college peers within 3 years' time for both full-time and part-time students. Right now, we are sitting at the bottom third of the pack. And so we have a big opportunity to leap ahead there. And I would also propose that we pay attention to the workforce needs and set our sights on ensuring that for every one of our career programs that we're meeting 40% of the need that's out there. And I'm going to show you an example of what that looks like in a moment. This is a busy slide. You have them in front of you, but I just put this here as an example to kind of the full complex pieces that need to go into an enrollment growth strategy. My assessment of CLC is we put a lot of weight in marketing and PR alone and not enough weight in ensuring that we've built the pipelines to the programs that we have. And more importantly, that we've even begun to do pre-pipeline work in the middle schools. So we have pipeline work to do middle school, high school, and then building out returning adult ed and the incumbent workforce. And then ensuring that the methods of delivery that we have actually meet those market needs. To the point, Matt, about your question on equity, a working adult student who's a parent and working full-time needs an entirely different design structure for delivery of their education than a student directly out of high school. So product development, capacity expansion, new program development, we need to get to work on some of this. CLC did not launch a single new credential this year, and in my opinion, you cannot cut your way to prosperity. And not putting new programs out there for students to see CLC in a new light or the workforce to address workforce gaps, we've essentially cut our legs out from under ourselves. Certainly we need intense marketing and recruitment work, and then as I mentioned, our student success efforts. But pipeline work is important, and so it's making sure that we've looked at the general high school market, the high school dual credit market, the adult ed market, the returning adult market, and the incumbent workforce market, and ensuring that we've developed intentional pathways for them into enroll in the college, and then ensuring that we've built a design structure where they can engage, progress, and complete, which will require us to make sure we've got action events for them to enroll, eliminate our institutional barriers, and really create user-friendly systems. And a lot of this is about ensuring that we're paying attention to the leading indicators, the data around the enrollment funnel. We have an enrollment management commission who is working extremely hard on behalf of the college. But there are some of these things that are being done extremely well, and I think there are opportunities for us to strengthen. So for every one of our target markets, high school, adult ed, returning adult, we've got to be really clear about who our prospects are, and at the prospect level, creating situations where they can engage, decide, and act with us, and then pay attention to what was our yield on that number. And then again, when they're in the applicant phase, putting them through an intentional moment, a point of decision that they need to do, and watching all of those metrics through to be enrolled and paying attention to where those enrollments are happening at all three of our campuses. And so as we build out the enrollment growth, this is the student success framework. But within each of these elements of the framework, these are enrollment and momentum metrics for students so that we can pay attention to where in the student's experience are we watching the metrics to ensure that we're optimizing the outcomes, both for the college, to optimize our bottom line, but also, more importantly, for the student outcomes. And we talked last month about what are the shifts we're going to need to make in order to make progress in this college. And on the enrollment growth side, one shift I think we need to make is in the relation to how we're evaluating our career programs. Because I think there's a big opportunity, and if we're truly going to serve the community as our mission speaks to what we're supposed to do, I think there's a shift in mindset that needs to happen. So I'd like to just, best way that I can demonstrate and explain this is to kind of give you an example for you to ponder. But this is about how we might reframe our ideals around how we look at our enrollment with programs. My observation is that right now at CLC, a lot of our focus and effort is on where the enrollment declines are happening. So we're looking at average enrollments, and we're looking at where all of those declines are. It's clear that there are challenges. And I went backwards. There we go. As I said at the front end of this presentation, I would propose that we say we're going to meet 40% of workforce needs for every one of our program areas. Why did I pick 40%? There is no good science behind it. I don't need to pick 100% because there's already a workforce out there. And I don't even need to sit at 50%. But we need to set a target for what are we trying to produce in the number of graduates that are going in to meet those workforce gaps. Right now, we aren't considering the graduate numbers at all. We're looking at enrollment and the declines that are happening, and then we're looking at the job growth. We haven't factored in what is our actual production to meet the workforce need. Because if we have to look at enrollment and to the student success point, transitioning students through to the completion point, and then how many graduates are we actually producing to meet the workforce gap? And I'm going to use CNC as my example. In my conversation with our CNC faculty, I learned that this is a program area that there are literally 0 high school programs to serve as a pipeline to this program. It doesn't even exist at the high school technology campus. So there are no dual credit in CNC occurring. There is nothing happening in general in high schools. Most high school graduates don't even know this program exists, yet we're in one of the highest manufacturing sectors in the state of Illinois. So we don't have a pipeline developed in order to feed students into this program. We could also build a pipeline out of adult ed. So there are a lot of opportunities for us. We've been focused on what our average enrollment is, and as you can see, given the fact that we have no pipelines, we have a 42% decline in enrollment over the last 3 years. But we haven't invested in actually building something to make that enrollment grow. Therefore, from the number of graduates that we're actually producing, the job growth that's out there, for the growth, not actually the number of jobs, if we were to produce 40% of those jobs, it would be 1,296 people we have to produce. right now, out of that 50 students enrolled, and the declining enrollment we've had, we've produced 13 graduates on average over the last 3 years. We're nowhere near meeting 40% of this workforce market, but this is what we're expected to do, is to meet workforce gaps. So we're not positioning ourselves for the growth opportunity because we haven't built a pipeline. So just so that you're aware, I've kind of put a pause on how we're doing career program evaluation because I want to understand where the pipeline is being developed, and let's get our energy and investment focused on actually building out the students that will come in through partnerships with our high school, through partnerships in our community, and through partnerships with workforce. So in this case of CNC programming, we are working toward hopefully bringing and developing a manufacturing alliance within this northeast part of Lake County in order to get employers working together to help us affect this, both by their support of K-12 and their support of us. So immediate needs from my view in terms of how do we accelerate enrollment growth, and then I'm going to hand it over to Derek to go through his presentation. We need to accelerate program development and implementation of those products. And the board has supported funds in order for us to go on things that we see as great needs. And we will use that innovation fund that's been provided to us. We need to accelerate our efforts in flexible and online delivery. Not every student can make it to the campus, and we have to be real about that. We also have to be real about the fact we have a large number of part-time students, and we need a different design too. We also have to evaluate our existing recruitment and pipeline strategies. So I will pause for just a moment and answer questions before Derek comes up.
Just a point of clarification on the numbers you have there for the projected job growth to 2020. What geographical area is that? Is it just Lake County or what is it?
I'm going to, Sean Hogan, do you know the answer to that question?
Which slide?
The job growth on the slide,
The numbers.
is it Lake County
We did
specifically?
studies of Lake McHenry, Kenosha, and DuPage counties for geographic region for growth.
Say that again?
Lake McHenry, Kenosha, and DuPage.
Good question.
And Joy, I would just add that while I love the pipeline, the notion of the way we're going to expand the enrollment, and we know we're committed to that, I remain concerned as a former high school superintendent
Sure.
that we will focus on the pipeline as a high school and not on the idea of allowing every high school student who's qualified, who's interested, who's willing to put time in to earn an associate's degree by the time they graduate from high school. So I just want to keep that in the main focus as well.
Yeah, so I've had 2 conversations with superintendents. I think what you're referencing really is that early college model. I have designed an early college with a large school district before. And there's a lot of right reasons and right ways to do it. And so right now I'm trying to find the superintendent that has the will to kind of forge that path, because I think this area has some huge opportunities. The best way to address equity gaps for students in high school and to prove that they can go to college and earn some of that while they're there. Other comments?
Yeah, can you go back to your first slide on your projections?
This,
To go on the very first one.
oh, sure.
On the degree?
Whoops. Right there?
Yeah.
Great.
We were focused on career programs and applied science programs, not really anything on the transfer degree programs, at least in this presentation. But it just seems to me that we would perhaps have better success if our focus was on the certificates first, to scaffold them into associate degrees. So I'm wondering what your thinking is behind that, because most of these jobs opportunities that you presented, particularly manufacturing, could be done with a certificate first rather than the associate degree of applied science. So I'm not sure I understand the rationale.
So you are absolutely right, and I think we're aligned in thinking. So yes, I have associate degrees here, and they're not, those associate degrees aren't just focused on career programs. I had the career conversation simply because I wanted to make the point that I think we need to reframe on that. But this isn't an either or, it's an and. So as we build credentials, and CLC is a good example, that is a program area where that faculty member has built stackable credentials within the degree so that students can come in, complete a certificate, go work, jump back in, complete another one, and before they know it, they can complete the full associate degree. So it's about designing that structure within and making sure those certificates exist. The trick is making sure those certificates are validated by employers as job-ready credentials.
It seems to me that number should be higher.
Yeah. The reason I didn't have the certificate number as double as I do in associate degrees is we're producing a high volume of certificates, and I was trying to put a goal out, I didn't want to put one so far out that it just seemed unreachable for us. So that's my first starting point. But yeah, I agree.
I hear you say, maybe I misunderstood, we only had one new degree this past year, credential, is that what you're saying?
We didn't launch any new credentials this year. Nothing.
That's a long
I haven't
start
done that in
to
my
go
20
to
years.
those degrees. I mean, your percentage there, that's a long step.
Well, it doesn't mean new degrees. It means of the degrees we currently have, where we have lots of capacity because our enrollment is down. We just need to get people in the seats. So it doesn't mean it's all in new build. Some of our design has to be new build, but much of our design, we have great programs. We're just not maximizing the output in those.
So you used the CNC model as an example. So if you're in high school and you don't even know what CNC means, that's part of what we're going to try to attempt to do with education. Gives an exciting degree in computer numerical control, and you can run a manufacturing floor just by programming. I mean,
So
if you're HVAC, everyone has a furnace and an air conditioner in the house, but
exactly, people don't have a CNC programmer sitting in their house. So a good example is the work that Allie's been engaged with the High School Alliance and the Lake County Partners and the High School Technology Campus. And so recently through that effort, they took high school counselors through a manufacturing plant, laser precision, and so now you have an employer telling high school counselors who, unless they have a family member who works in that field, also do not know what that is. So educating them about what great careers these are and the high level of technical skill, the math and science behind it to help them understand it. So as they're talking with students, many times they have so many myths and misperceptions about what these careers are. So it's exactly that. It's creating those alliances to help expose not only the students, but the influencers of those students, parents and counselors, to be ready to run those careers.
In my recruitment days in the College of Lake County, when I would meet with students, the parents would automatically think transfer, and then even if the student would desire maybe some career transfer, the parents are always trying to get their students into a transfer degree, even though that might not be the best thing for the students. So I think part of that pipeline is going to have to involve the parents as well as the counselors to say, this is very high mathematics and science, this is an important program, and here's the employment. I think the parents have to be very involved in the process to understand that this is a good thing for their son or daughter to go into.
Yeah, and I will share, I've been engaged in that work before, and one of the misnomers that exists out there is that if you go for a career program, that means you don't have the ability to transfer. Now, I will be honest and say I was shocked to learn when I came to Illinois that associate and applied science here do not transfer to the university, because part of a pathway is that you build it so students can exit directly to the university when they're in the transfer path, and making sure they can go direct to workforce. But those that are going direct to workforce eventually are going to be managers and are going to need to go into the university to advance their degree. From whence I came, every associate in applied science transferred directly to the university. So that is one of my first points on my list when I begin meeting with provosts and chancellors in the universities, is how can we change that? And if that, I'm still new enough to not know all of the complexity that goes with that at the state level. But that was a real surprise to me, and that doesn't serve us well in attracting students in. So we've got to bust that. Yeah.
But except for, because of your articulation, some of the colleges, universities will accept all those credits. And some of them are beginning to look at that a little bit differently.
I agree.
Elmhurst, Nash Lewis, others that we've had discussions with. But they are getting a credential with that applied science when they walk out of here.
Right.
They've got that degree. And a good number of those courses do transfer. So several of them may not, depends on what you've got set up. But you get a lot of credits when they walk out.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would suggest, I would suggest we have a little bit more conversation around those goal numbers.
Okay, absolutely.
I want us, obviously, to be successful. We want targets set high, and we should have stretch goals.
Mhm.
But I don't want them to be so high that they may be, how should I say, very difficult to get there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. These were certainly just kind of, let's put something out there so we can start the dialogue.